have 5 opportunities to get onto the racetrack. Hey, we could race 5 times if we wanted, but we give them 1 practice session,
right,
1 qualifying, get them a chance to go wheel to wheel 3 different times.
Looking at our championship standings, Kiko Porto, the points leader, but only by 15 points, and with 25 points for a win and on up, it can or 35 points, for a win, that could go away in a heartbeat.
Well, the interesting thing, too, is that you look at the top 6, only 1 driver from the top 6 has not yet won, and that's Josh Pearson, the 15-year-old driver who runs for Pabst Racing, the number 24 out of Oregon. Here's a kid that has had, last year's first year in the program, was kind of getting comfortable with, the racing itself, the car, jumping out of carts into cars. This year, though, that 6 months off, the maturity level, the focus, everything he did in the offseason in terms of some other testing, a chance to test a bunch of different race cars, he's a different kid this year. We're seeing a really impressive level of consistency out of Josh Pearson. Just look at his numbers. A couple of podium finishes to start the year at Barber Motorsports Park. A little bit of rough one at St. Petersburg, a 7th and a 10th, but then he comes back with a 4th, 2nd, 8th, 9th, 3rd. So all these top 10s, a bunch of top 5s as well, and this will be his opportunity to get settled in. Personally, where he is right now, he could probably come back 1 more year in USF2000. I don't think he'll do that. I think we'll see him in Indy Pro 2000 next year. But he could come back and be a perfect example of a driver who spends 3 years in a series and it ends up being the dominant driver the following year. But Josh Pearson's looked really good. All the other drivers have won. Kiko Porto, Yuvan Sundaramurthy, Michael D'Orlando, Christian Brooks, and Prescott Campbell have all been victorious. And coming off of Road America, of course, Kiko Porto with that big win. Thomas Nepveu as well, the young rookie driver for Cape Motorsports out of Quebec, Canada. Oka, Quebec, Canada, was the first rookie of the year, rookie of the season to get a win. So pretty good for him to be able to notch that victory.
Michael D'Orlando set the quickest time in practice this morning, a 1:22.05. But again, starting with this session, we'll probably see some fresh tires on line.
This is it right now, right? If you look down here, you have to have fresh rubber on right now because you're not allowed to use your carryover tires that we used in the opening practice anywhere past that opening practice session. You can't hold on to them if you want for later on. So anyways, everybody on fresh tires. And looking down, trying to see how many other drivers may potentially be on have fresh rubber for the next set as well. This could be interesting to see how this all plays out. But a lot of drivers down there getting set to go, and away we are. We're rolling.
Look at the sticker tires on a whole lot of teams.
Yeah, like I said, I don't believe you're allowed to use your carryover tires, so there could be guys that have already pulled the stickers off. Some guys leave the stickers on, some guys want to pull the stickers off. Nonetheless, everybody rolling out onto the racetrack for this qualifying session. Looking forward to it. Coming only 20 minutes, so a practice session a bit longer, but 20 minutes to get the job done. You'll normally see them 5 minutes, maybe 10, maybe 7 or 8 minutes to get that first session, the first run done on the tires. Drivers come back in, get a feel for it, talk to the engineers, maybe a slight adjustment, and then put fresh rubber on and try to do it again. Some drivers may hold on to 1 set, some drivers may use 2 sets of tires, but only 3 fresh sets for the remainder of the weekend, which is again, 1 qualifier in 3 races.
The time they'll be shooting for is most likely the race like that Kyle Kirkwood said here 3 years ago in 2018, 1:21.297. The qualifying record was set way back in 2012 by Matthew Brown, who we saw at the Stadium Super Trucks, by the way, that was getting different chassis, different tire. So we don't expect to see that challenge, but that 121 should be within everybody's sights.
We'll see what happens with the 120. There's always a possibility.
Sure.
The temperature's pretty good right now. It's 70 degrees, so engines love it. It's a bit cooler. Track temperature around 95 degrees. We have some cloud cover coming in, a little wind here now. I was actually back in the paddock and a couple of drivers in Indy Pro 2000 looking at that radar. There's a little bit of cell that could potentially come to maybe like 10-15 minutes right on top of Indy Pro 2000 qualifying. They're not overly thrilled about that. But
exactly.
But especially when you've shown good pace in the dry, right? Sure. You don't want to. We did all this work to get a good dry car. Now we got to go potentially in the wet. We'll see. But we're going to get 20 minutes of dry here, I believe, for USF2000. We'll see who steps their way to the front.
Exactly right. Of course, they do have rain tires. They can't run in the wet if it comes to that. But we're hoping for dry track because that's what makes it fun. That's what makes the lap times the best and gives everybody a level playing field.
I'd say that I like the rain. Because personally, I think I love it when we have rain races because I really want to see which drivers can step up in challenging conditions because the rain is something that is tough. It's the great equalizer. You know. Now, granted, we're all in the same chassis, the same engines, so it's not like anybody has more horsepower. But it's the great equalizer in terms of it's all about the right foot, all about your ability to modulate the throttle, your steering input. I think I love the art of rain racing, And I like at least a couple of rain races a year makes me happy.
Are you good in the rain, Rob?
Well, here's the thing. I always say you have to tell yourself you're good in the rain, otherwise you won't be good in the rain.
Right.
I think I used to be really good in the rain, but last time I raced a couple of years ago, I sucked. I was horrible. But I still believe that I'm decent in the rain.
There you go.
But like I said, if you're a driver that says I'm horrible in the rain, then you're going to be horrible in the rain.
Exactly right.
You've got to tell yourself that I love it, I'm really good at it,
Yep.
and take every opportunity to do it as well. If it's raining, make sure you're out there testing.
First lap's in the books.
Yep.
Not a whole lot to count on just yet, but the usual suspects at the front: Michael D'Orlando, Kiko Porto, Christian Brooks, Yuvan Sundaramuthi, Matt Round-Garrido, your top five after just a single flying lap. So you're right. Nobody's wasting any time getting up to speed, as we've already got times in the 24s. So.
And again, one of the things that happens during these 20-minute sessions, we often laugh, John, when you and I are together, any other one of the track announcers I work with, you do all this work setting up, you tell people where everybody are, but it all happens in the last 3 minutes anyways, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You try to say what the top five is, it's totally different the next lap around. As these cars get lighter and lighter, they get faster and faster. But the key to a qualifying session is that when you set the tire pressure, it's got to be set correctly, right? So you need, number one, drivers got to bring the car up to temperature correctly, the tires. Bring them up to temp. Don't abuse them. Once they get to the exact perfect temp and the exact amount of grip, that's when your tire pressure has to be exactly perfect. At that point, you need open racetracks, so you can't be held up by anybody else. The fuel level's got to be as low as it possibly can, and then the driver's got to turn in the magic lap. That's the beauty of qualifying. People just think they're out there circulating. They're doing everything they can right now to hit that one lap. And you'll hear when IndyCar Radio talks after qualifying for Fast 6 qualifying, when they start talking to all the drivers about not maximizing that one lap. They're on the reds. They didn't get a chance to maximize on the lap that they needed to maximize. Because it does take a little time to get the tire up to temp, but you have to take full advantage of that tire. Otherwise, you're just not going to be P1.
And these Coopers have pretty good longevity, so they don't have a peak like 2 laps in and then they fall off the cliff.
Some of the racetracks do, yes. Mid-Ohio, no. Mid-Ohio could be good to the very end. We could see drivers going faster and faster through to the end. Some tracks we go to a lot rougher on tires, right? They'll chew them up a bit, and maybe that first 2 or 3 or 4 laps is crucial. Otherwise, indeed, the Coopers have the consistency to give still enough grip when the tire pressures get to the right size or to the right pressure, and then when the fuel level gets as low as it needs to be. Because a light car, as I said earlier, is a fast car.
Absolutely. Rob and I are speaking to you from the 3rd floor of the Cooper Tires press tower. We'd like to welcome all of the guests here from Findlay, Ohio-based Cooper Tires, a longtime partner of the Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires, and a tremendous supporter of drivers climbing the ladder of the NTT IndyCar Series. Cooper Tires is also the official tire of the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course. The new Cooper Tires Pavilion inside the red roof structure, inside of turn number 1, just went up this summer. They finished the construction on it just this week. And right over there is the Cooper Tires stage, where Rob will be holding forth with a question and answer session. First one today, coming up at 2:15.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to a couple of Juncos drivers, the Indy Lights pilots out of the team. Stingray Rob and Toby Sauer are going to join me there at 2:15, so come on over. Just on the exit of turn number 1, you'll see the big Cooper Tire activation trailer will be there. That's where the Road to Indy TV crew will be setting up shop throughout the weekend as well for all of our coverage pre-show. If you haven't downloaded the Road to Indy TV app, do so. You're able to follow along throughout the season. All of our races live streamed on the app for both Apple and Android devices.
About 6 minutes into the session, that leaves 13 minutes remaining. And look at Chase Denmark up into a second spot. Michael D'Orlando still showing the way by about a quarter of a second, but Chase Denmark second quick, Yuvan Sundaramuthi third.
Yeah, 3 laps in the books, and right behind them, Simon Sykes for Legacy Autosport. Driver getting more opportunity to race this year, which is exciting for me. He's been here at Mid-Ohio many times before, so he's got a lot of track time. Simon, two-time SCCA, or not two-time, but 2 SCCA runoff championships last year at Road America in both Formula Continental and Formula F. A very talented driver out of Atlanta, Georgia. Kiko Porto now jumping up into the second spot. Chase Denmark for Paps Racing, the rookie out of Scottsdale, Arizona, going down to third. Matt Round-Garrido from England, dropping from 4th to 5th. This Josh Green from Mount Kisco, New York, and the number 33 for Turn 3 Motorsport will move his way up into the top 5. Green 4th, Round-Garrido 5th, Sundaramuthi in 6th, and now Miles Rowe with the number 99. The Force Indy entry goes to P4, rookie driver. Just kind of getting his feet wet, just starting to get comfortable, I think, for Miles. There's a lot of pressure on him to start the season, pushed hard, got into a couple of race incidents, which is tough to him. He's actually a little further down in points as a result, but currently 14th at think you'll see some good results coming out of Miles Rowe. Actually had a couple of good runs at Road America. Was able to get into the top 10, John, in race number 2. De Orlando, though, won a winner here last year as well in that number 4 machine for Cape Motorsports, coming off, of course, the victory at Lucas Oil Raceway. De Orlando currently 4th in points. Scored the victory on the oval in the Freedom 75. Backed that up with a strong second-place finish at Road America before being involved in an incident, finishing 22nd in the most recent race a couple of weeks ago in Elkhart Lake. P1 right now by 0.2 of a second over Kiko Porto, Jace Denmark, Miles Rowe, and now Nolan Siegel for D-Force into the top 5. Josh Green 6th, Brown Garrido 7th, Sundar Murthy 8th, Josh Pearson 9th, and Bejoy Gard now rounding out the early top 10. Here's what I'm thinking right now. We're almost to the halfway point, and we haven't seen anybody in the pit lane yet. And so I wonder. Here's our first taker.
Speak of the devil.
Yeah, here's our first taker, and it is, in fact, De Orlando. The driver out of Hartsdale, New York, in the number 4. De Orlando, second-year driver. Cape Motorsports will bring that car in for service. Again, I wonder how many people will do that. Will he be the only guy to go to fresh rubber? Will everybody else try to stay out potentially and do one set? De Orlando coming in. He could literally probably sit there. They're going to change tires. I can see the Cape Motorsports crew going to work right now. Fresh boots for De Orlando. Sticker Cooper's going on that Tatis USF2000.
So maybe he came out with a scrub set of tires, and now he's...
Yeah, I'm going to get that confirmation, John, because I was under the impression that you weren't allowed to use the carryovers past that first session. I'll get a confirmation on that when I can, so that's definitely something to look in for. But he is definitely putting on fresh rubber. Whether he goes out or not, I wonder. You're a 10th and a half up right now. You're P1. Do you go out? Do you need to go out?
Yeah.
But we do know this. Qualifying on pole here is crucial at Mid-Ohio. If you start up front, you're going to end up front. Whether it's in the top 2, 3, or 4, whatever it may be. So starting on pole could be big. Championship contender, leader Kiko Porto right behind him in second. So no rest for the weary there.
Spike Kohlbecker up into third. That's a good run for Spike in that number 5 car.
Coming off that third place finish at Road America, a tremendous breakout for Kohlbecker there. Started deep in the field in race number 2 for Kohlbecker. Started 8th, shuffled back deep into the field, drove back up to 8th position, which I thought was impressive. Christian Brooks in the pit lane in the 44. So indeed the exclusive Autosport drivers potentially planning a run here. Past the halfway point, I figured maybe lap or 7 minutes in, 8 minutes in. We got guys a little further, 10, 11 minutes in now. Number of drivers potentially staying out for the entire run, but currently into the pit lane is Christian Brooks. He's in the 17th spot. He will not be happy with that at all. 17th for Brooks. Fraser, his teammate, Billy Fraser out of New Zealand, now 17th. They're 17th and 18th, and Matt Brown Garrido in 12th. Here comes Simon Sykes as well in the number 19 Legacy Autosport Metalloid sponsored entry. Sykes back in, the number 10 and Nolan Siegel as well into pit lane. So we may start seeing some drivers into pit lane here for what will be a shorter second run, John.
Spike Kohlbecker goes up to second and closes to within less than a 10th of a second of Michael De Orlando. Now Kiko Porto takes over that second spot. Then Kohlbecker, then Thomas Nepvo. What a great run for him up into the 4th spot.
Yeah, how about Cape Motorsports, 1st, 3rd, and 4th?
Yep.
Rolling pretty good there right now.
Well, they have a bit of pedigree.
They've done well over the last 10 years, indeed. 8 championships, number of team championships as well, and some really tremendous drivers have come through the Cape Motorsports camp as well. What else we've got here? Prescott Campbell to P5 at better pace than he had earlier today. Prescott Campbell, the D-Force entry. Here comes the 92 of Matt Brown Garrido as well, I believe. I think it's the 33 of Josh Green as well, John, into pit lane. So a number of top-running drivers coming into the pits. You wonder whether or not, maybe if you're a little further back, do you save that fresh set of tires? Do you save it for the race, whatever it may be, or do you try to do 2 sets later? Here comes Trey Burke. We talked about Trey, went over and talked to him afterwards. They're really putting their team together, and this is the cool thing. I talked about Trey having some really good pace. He's normally been near the tail of the field, the last 2 or 3 drivers. This guy comes from the dirt oval world, running in junior sprint cars, and then mini sprints, and then in 360 sprinters, 410 sprint cars, And here's a kid that said, I want to try the road to Indy. I want to see if I can get the Indy car. And so he's really been learning. And now mid-season starting to get more comfortable. They're working with Sage Karam as a driver coach. They've got a lot more intel coming in for the chassis as well. They don't have anybody that's really working.
It's a single car team. Yeah.
It's a single car team, no extra data. So Pretty good run so far for Trey Burke, and again, been showing well. Burke right now in the 26th spot, but again, going to put fresh tires on. Actually, they've got the rear cowl off on this thing.
They're doing some work on the rear suspension, probably making some adjustments. Maybe changing the spring rate, maybe changing the roll bar a little bit, trying to give him a little better grip.
I'm going to say potentially ride height. It looks like they're I think they may be going on the bar to change some ride height here. Either that or rear toe. We'll see what happens when they get in here. But Trey Burke a little further back for this one. But we're going to see some action over the next little while. We got 7 minutes to go. D'Orlando, Pearson. Josh Pearson now up to second for Pabst Racing. Driver currently sitting third in points. He is now P2.
The top 5 separated by 1/10 of a second.
That makes a lot of sense. Billy Fraser down to P1. The Kiwi goes to P1 for exclusive. Fraser in the 91 laying a lap down. 122.031. I believe the best run for Fraser throughout the season has been St. Petersburg. He was pretty strong there in the opening couple of rounds. Currently 11th in the points. Indeed, 6th place in that opening race. 4th at St. Petersburg in the opening round of that event. Then really been just outside the top 10. 12, 13, 14 is kind of where he's been. But great run there for Fraser, a 122.030.
Now Michael D'Orlando retakes the top spot and the first driver into the 21s, a 121.7926. That's within about a half a second of Kyle Kirkwood's race lap record. Fraser in second spot by about a quarter of a second. So D'Orlando just sort of blew up that tight pack that we had at the top.
Well, I think they'll put those fresh tires on, right?
Yep, exactly.
Now, here's the thing about Billy Fraser, right? Currently P2. They haven't brought him down here to pit lane yet. I don't know that they will. Let's see whether or not Fraser comes. Because maybe they're going to say, hey, listen, let's save some tires for Billy. We'll see what happens here, because right now looking pretty good P2. Even if he's anywhere in the top 10, it would be right there among his best qualifying sessions of the year. Yeah, 12th, 13th, 8th. Everything else has been essentially just outside the top 10 or even lower. So Billy Fraser looking for an opportunity to have a good qualifying effort here. I'll give a shout out to all the Kiwis listing down in New Zealand and those in Australia as well for a number of the drivers that we have from down under.
Christian Weir making it down to the pit lane. Also the 34 car of Dylan Christie also coming into the pits.
Billy Fraser still on the racetrack, currently P2. Here comes Dylan Christie, as you said, in the 34 for Turn 3 Motorsports. D'Orlando, Fraser, Pearson, Porto, Kohlbecker, top 5. Nepfu in 6th, Denmark 7th, Soonermer the 8th, Campbell 9th, and Jackson Lee now up into the top 10.
Just under 5 minutes remaining.
Jackson Lee in the Prime 47 Chernoff Cosmetic Surgery Mach entry. New sponsor on the side of Jackson Lee's car here this weekend. Again, Prime 47 and Chernoff Cosmetic Surgery. We'll go more into depth on a program that's part of that partnership a little later on here this weekend. 4 minutes to go, a little over 4. D'Orlando on top by 0.2 of a second, a 121.792. Trying to get himself back into the championship fight. Currently sitting 4th, 29 points behind Kiko Porto. Kiko currently still in the 4th spot.
And D'Orlando, the only driver in the top 5 that doesn't have a win yet this year.
There you go.
So this.
Oh no, and Fraser.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean in the top 5 in points?
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
D'Orlando won at Lucas Oil.
Yeah, you're right. My bad.
He won at Lucas Oil. But that's his only victory. So another one here would be big, especially as we're into this final run of races. Fraser still P2. Interesting to see Billy Fraser second. Christian Brooks back in 18th right now, a 10th or a full second off, 9.99. So Christian Brooks, a winner at St. Petersburg earlier this year. He's had some really good runs as well. Top 5 runs at Barber, wins at St. Pete, 3rd, 5th, and then a DNF, an issue for a technical issue at Indy. He was fast at Indy. 5th and 5th at Lucas Oil Raceway, and then Road America 5th and 20th after the incident we detailed earlier today. This is not the pace we've seen out of Christian Brooks.
Yeah, that's out of character for him to be that far back.
Indeed. He's coming across. That's Matt Rangarito coming by us here on start finish right now. He's currently in the 16th spot. Is D'Orlando back in? So that what D'Orlando did there, great lap, went out, fresh tires, blustered one more lap down. He's done.
Yep.
Those will be race tires probably for Sunday.
Yep.
Couple laps, maybe 1 or 2 laps on those tires will be fantastic. They'll have a heat cycle. He'll be really strong with that on Sunday. So D'Orlando up top. Billy Fraser, though, super impressive. Fraser into second in the number 91. Pearson Porto, and Colbeck. Well, what is going on with Christian Brooks? Fourth in points, or fifth in points rather, all the way down in 18th position.
And a second off the pace.
Yeah, crazy. Number 8 of Jackson Lee into pit lane, currently in the 11th spot as he goes down a spot there. Nolan Siegel getting above Billy Fraser to move Nolan Siegel to second. Nathan Bird into pit lane. Good to have Nathan Bird back with us. Made his debut at the Freedom 75. He's going to run the race today, and then the race on Sunday as he's going to run a midget, I believe, at Lucas Oil Raceway again on Saturday night. So Nathan doing a lot of different racing, running a bunch of different stuff to get a feel for it. We're thrilled to have him here with us again. Nathan Bird, running for Legacy Autosport, 28th right now, but again, his first road course event here on the road to Indy.
He's doing an Ernie Francis this weekend.
Exactly that. Kiko Porto goes to P1 in the number 12 for D-Force. Porto on top, D'Orlando second, Siegel third. Simon Sykes jumping up into the fourth spot. Billy Fraser now fifth. Bejoy Garg in sixth. Josh Pearson seventh. Spike Colbecker eighth. Thomas Nepveu in ninth, and Jace Denmark in 10th. Brooks improves up to 16th, but he's still a full second off the pace right now. His teammate Billy Fraser quicker by a half a second. Normally the other way around, because Brooks, the veteran driver, second year of the series, there's got to be something wrong with that machine.
That lap of Porto was stout, man. He is 3/10 clear of D'Orlando and almost a half a second clear of Nolan Siegel.
Yeah, I was going to say, D'Orlando, who was 3/10 clear himself before. That's a big jump.
Yeah, that's a big lap.
And that's the point leader, Kiko Porto. His last bunch of races. IMS, let's go this. Here's a 10th is the opening round. 4th at Barber, then St. Pete 5th and 2nd. IMS 7th, 3rd win. Lucas Oil Raceway 4th, Road America victory, and then 5th. That is a nice everything in the top 10, the consistency you need to be up top.
Yep.
Kiko Porto, the number 12, P1 here in the order as well. Simon Sykes going up to 3rd. Simon coming off his best weekend ever in the road to Indy, John. 7th in race 1 at Road America. 2nd, P2 in race number 2 behind Thomas Nepveu. Simon Sykes dialing things in here with Legacy Autosport.
And we're only 10 seconds away from the checkers, so he'll get another lap. And he's only 0.03 of a second off D'Orlando at second.
So final circuit drivers who have coming across start-finish line now going to complete their final lap on the racetrack. Christian Brooks has improved himself up into 15th, 2/10 back. He came in for fresh rubber as well. That's the thing. If he had struggled early, no adjustments to the car to make it faster, because he is that far off the pace. 8/10 off right now. Christian Brooks in 15th. And he did that a lot last year, having to start deep in the field and worked his way forward.
Josh Green up to 9th on his final lap.
Yeah, this would right now tie Brooks's worst start of the year, which was just last race, 15th. He's still 15th. So drivers coming across the line. Siegel, as John said, up on top of Simon Sykes to take the spot away. Kiko Porto still P1. Can Sykes find a little bit? Kiko Porto 121.440. Michael D'Orlando 121.7. 0.3 of a second separating first and second. Porto no quicker. Waiting just on Sykes right now. No. So he'll stand on his time. So here it is. Here's your top 10. Kiko Porto in the number 12, P1. Michael D'Orlando in second in the number 4. Nolan Siegel, 3rd. Simon Sykes, 4th. Billy Fraser, his best qualifying effort of the year, P5 for Fraser. The Kiwi looking good. Bejoy Garg, 6th. Jace Denmark, 7th. Josh Pearson, 8th. Spike Colbecker, 9th. And Josh Green rounding out the top 10. And John, this is what I look at as well. Not just the names, but the teams. Look at the different teams we have in the top 10 as well. You got D-Force Racing with Porter and Siegel, 1st and 2nd. You got Cape Motorsports with D'Orlando in 2nd and 9th with Colbecker. Legacy Autosport in there with Simon Sykes. You got Exclusive Autosport 5th with Billy Fraser. You got Jay Howard Driver Development with Bejoy Garg. You got Paps Racing with Denmark and Pearson, and Turn 3 with Green. There's got to be 6 teams in the top 10 here in USF2000. But, man, a lot of storylines here. Kiko Porto and Michael D'Orlando going to battle it out starting on the front row later today. Porto, your championship leader. Christian Brooks is going to start on row number 8. He'll be a driver to watch in the red and white number 44, but he is not going to be pleased when they get back to the paddock.
Indeed. All right, that'll put a period on the Cooper Tires USF2000 qualifying session, but don't go away, because right now the next step on the ladder, the Indy Pro 2000 drivers will be out for their qualifying session in about 10 minutes' time.
back. But Indy Pro 2000 right now, John, this is a fantastic championship battle as well. Again, the guys up top, but the guys that had success in USF 2000, back-to-back championships in Braden Eves and Christian Rasmussen. Those two drivers in the middle of the fight. But you know what? Don't sleep on Artem Petrov right now. I think he could be the guy to watch here this particular weekend. Artem, a very talented driver from St. Petersburg, Russia. Likes this racetrack, won here last year with Juncos Racing, and I think that speaks volumes when you've got that pedigree from the year before, the confidence when you know coming back to this racetrack you can succeed.
We talked about it earlier this morning in the practice session, but of the 12 drivers here, 7 of them are rookies, stepping up, most of them from the USF 2000 championship.
Indeed. We did have a couple of drivers come in from internationally as well, which I thought was exciting. Not here with us now, Anam Ahmed and Enzo Fittipaldi. Hopefully we'll see them back in the future. But indeed, drivers coming up from USF 2000, Reese Gold, Hunter McElroy worked his way up there, Wyatt Prokachik as well, James Rowe ran a couple of races with us, Jack William Miller as well, did a couple of seasons in USF 2000. And that's the progression, right? That's what we have on the road to Indy. You learn in USF 2000, slicks and wings, not a ton of downforce, more mechanical, 170 horsepower. Then you jump up to Indy Pro, and it's more of everything. More downforce, 80 more horsepower, more braking capability as well, and just a lot more grip. So these cars are fantastic cars to drive in, and they produce drivers ready to go to Indy Lights.
Exactly right. Hunter Yaney and Kiffin Simpson, 2 drivers that I've been able to follow through the series that I announced for. Kiffin Simpson, the points leader currently in the Formula Regional Americas Championship. Hunter Yaney, the reigning F4 U.S. champion. So those drivers have a pedigree in those series as well, stepping up here into the Indy Pro 2000 Championship for 2021.
Interesting to look in terms of wins as well. We talked about Kyle Kirkwood, all-time winner, win list leader of the Road to Indy at 25. But Christian Rasmussen sneaking up quickly. He's got 17 wins already, 3 in 2019. He had, I think, 9 last year, puts him at 12. Add another 5 for this year. He's at 17 already. There's enough races. If he won every race at the end of the season, that would be another 8 races. That would put him tied with Kyle Kirkwood. I don't think that's going to happen because of the level of competition we have in the field here, but there's an opportunity for Christian Rasmussen to be challenging and kind of following in the footsteps of Kyle Kirkwood. But this championship's still well up for grabs. Everybody within 100 points still kind of in the fight, and I think that means Rasmussen, Eves, Gold, Petrov, McElroy, and Manuel Suleiman. Manuel Suleiman won here last year, racing with D-Force Racing, and on the outside there would be Jacob Abel, 106 points back. But here's a kid that's really starting to kind of step things up. He had his best weekend of the year at Road America, coming off a victory in the FRA Series last weekend here, running with Newman Walks Racing and his own Abel Motorsports crew. So there's an opportunity for him to kind of get back in the fight. Is he a challenger for the title? Probably not, 106 points back. But there is definitely still an opportunity for him to make some hay and work himself back up into this discussion for Jacob Abel.
Absolutely, and hopefully look for a ride into the Indy Lights Series next year.
Yeah, I would love to see that. I got to think we're going to see at least 3 or 4, maybe 5 of these drivers potentially advancing up into Indy Lights next year. I'm predicting, long range predicting 16 to 18 drivers next year in Indy Lights. A lot of momentum with the series. Again, we talked about it earlier. The car really dialed in now after being rolled out in 2015. The cars will go to 2024 as well, already locked in for sure. So 3 more years for the existing package, which makes it solid for some teams coming in to be able to amortize their investment into the series. And we're looking for potentially 2 to 3 new teams coming into Indy Lights next year. One of them we know of course, is TJ Speed with a longtime engineer Tim Neff, his program. Yeah. Yep. So he bought all the equipment from Bilardi Auto Racing, actually moved right into the shop. So perfect opportunity for Tim to make that move to Indy Lights. Got a number of cars there ready to go for the 2022 season. But first and foremost, these young drivers have got to get through Indy Pro 2000 before they jump to Indy Lights, and that's why we're going to have ourselves a tremendous weekend here. We are green. Drivers are at it. The first guy coming across the line are the 2 exclusive Autosport drivers, I believe, in Braden Eves and Reese Gold, or rather Braden Eves and Artem Petrov. One thing I will say, I stepped out quickly out of the booth. Light sprinkle outside there right now. It's not raining, but there are some heavy clouds around. I talked about it during USF 2000. Talked to a couple of drivers during the break there, and they were looking at the radar. There's a potential for it to hit here. So I will say this: get out there, fresh tires, and get some laps in. As we got, looks like there's a standing yellow, at least a yellow flag flying over in turn number 1. John.
Looks like it's been withdrawn now. I don't see.
Yeah, I think you're right. I can't see my phone, but I can see that far away from here. I see you using the binoculars. That's a great call.
That's it.
So drivers just starting to put some laps in here right now. No one really even getting that first lap in the books as of yet. Just a 2.5 minutes into what will be a 20-minute session. You can see the drivers kind of weaving back and forth a little bit. The one good thing, if we do get a light sprinkle, John, 92.8 degrees Fahrenheit, the current track temperature. It's going to evaporate that moisture pretty quickly with the drivers hustling around here as well.
Rusty Bell told us it was Wyatt Brkacek who did have a spin at turn 1, but he's been able to continue.
There you go. Thank you, Rusty, for the update there. Back down the hill at a turn number 6. Drivers are starting to settle in. This is something you don't want to do. You don't want to get behind another driver. Number one, you're going to deal with aero wash. You're going to have, when you're in behind, you lose all the air off your front wing, so the car just not going to turn. But then you're also going to start to punish the tires because as you slide, you're really beating on those fronts. So that's James Rowe Jr., I think, coming up behind Hunter McElroy. I would just lean back. It's tough because you don't want to give up a lap, especially you can't give it up in Thunder Valley because you've given up 2 laps. Right? Because Thunder Valley is where the timing stripe is. If you're slow coming out of 9, you're essentially giving up that lap, and then you're don't have the full speed out going all the way down the corner as well. So better to give it up in turn number 4 if you got to do that and got to make an adjustment to your lap times.
Kiffin Simpson sets the quickest lap on his first flying lap and then ducks right into the pits. He and his teammate Miguel Suleiman into the pits. So again, are we playing the same tire strategy we saw from Michael D'Orlando in the previous section?
That's really interesting. I would have expected they would have put down a couple more laps, though. You know what I mean? Get a 4 or 5 lap stint in to be able to get that really good lap in first and then come in. Now, essentially, all they're really doing if they're coming in like that is just maybe scuffing a set of tires in for the race on Sunday. 3 sets of tires for the 5 sessions, 4 for Indy Lights. So just 3 sets. They used a carryover set from Road America for their practice session earlier today. Now they're on fresh tires for essentially just 4 sessions, 2 qualifying and 2 races. So they maybe just scuffed a set for the Saturday or Sunday race at this point. Rasmussen up top right now, 119.7496. In comes Reese Gold as well for Juncos Racing. So it seems like the Juncos Racing approach will be to do a couple of laps, come in and potentially put fresh rubber on. Yeah, I can see all the way down there right now. They're putting rubber on the car of Kiffin Simpson. And I think that's Manuel Suleiman in as well. Is that what we're seeing?
Yes.
Yeah, so everybody in pit lane right now for Juncos Racing. Interesting approach for Ricardo Juncos and his crew.
After a couple of flying laps, 3 drivers in the 19s. Christian Rasmussen, the points leader, at a 19.74. And then less than half a tenth back is Reese Gold in the 55. And then about a tenth and 2/10 back is Braden Eves in the 91. Jack William Miller currently in the 4th spot. And Petrov in the 5th spot. But again, just two flying laps in. The time they're shooting for, David Malukas said it here in 2018, a 1:14.8576. So we're still about 5 seconds off of that kind of pace, but it's early days, and we've got 15 minutes left. So.
One of the things when we're looking at track records for this particular race car here, the PM18 that debuted in 1918, we evolved the engine package coming into 2021 to provide a lot more reliability, to kind of change the way the power is delivered a little bit, drop the RPM, drop the horsepower, but brought the torque up a little bit on the car as well. So very similar lap times depending on the racetrack, but we're not going to see, I don't think, that outright speed as we've moved for a little bit more reliability. Just an evolution of the PM18 program, and just a great job by everybody involved in the road dating, and of course Stephen Logan Knapp at Elite Engines. James Rowe Jr. on top in the Topcon Trintec Turn 3 Motorsports number 3 at 118.809.
Yeah, we've got 4 drivers in the 18s already on lap number 3, so the time's beginning to come down pretty dramatically here.
You said a 117.8, I think, was the fast lap in practice number 1 for Artem Petrov, the
correct
Russian for Exclusive Autosport. So already within a second of that, drivers just getting settled in here. Rowe, Miller, Rasmussen, McElroy, and Petrov, the current top 5. This will be an interesting session if indeed this precipitation continues to kind of creep up on us a little bit. Ideally, we'll be able to get out of here cleanly because we're not back on the racetrack again until Indy Lights qualifying at 3:35. So we're literally over an hour and a half before we're back on the racetrack here. We've got Indy Lights set to go for their qualifying session for race 1 at 3:35. And then right at 4:05, right out of that session, we go bang into our first wheel-to-wheel action. The Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship will take to the racetrack for their first race of the triple header. Both Exclusive Autosport cars into pit lane. John, and more what I would have expected. 7 minutes into the session, they'll take three or 4 minutes to be able to make the change to fresh tires, get back out for another run, having made adjustments to the race cars as well.
Jack William Miller atop the order, a 118.3526. for the Miller Vinatieri Motorsports team. Bit of trivia, the Vinatieri is Adam Vinatieri, the place kicker, former place kicker for the Indianapolis Colts.
And, of course, Jack Miller, the racing dentist, part of the Indy Racing League back in the day. Crest sponsorship, I remember that car.
Couple starts in the Indy 500.
That's it. Here come the Juncos racing drivers back out onto the racetrack. So they have made their adjustments. They came in early. Again, looks to me like just maybe 1 or 2 laps in the tires, scuffing those for a race. They didn't put laps enough to be fast. There they are, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So it's not like they were maximizing those tires to try to get the rubber, just potentially putting in a heat cycle scuff to be able to get those ready. Heat cycling means you've run the tire one time, it's built up all the heat, and when that heat then dissipates, a full cycle through the heat range gives the tire a little bit more. A lot of times it gives the tire maybe a little bit more reliability, consistency throughout the run, but it also makes it come in quicker when you go racing. You don't have to, on those fresher tires, usually maybe a lap or 2 before they really hit their maximum. It'll come quicker to the maximum. That may help in terms of getting away cleanly out front. I guess that would, I expect at least potentially to be the concept, the approach.
Makes sense.
Rasmussen in as well on the Road to Indy sponsorship car. Of course, the scholarship coming from his USF2000 championship from 2020. Dominant run for a majority of the season, although a little scary dip in the middle there with a couple of DNFs in a row, 3 in a row here, and an issue here at Mid-Ohio. Jack William Miller in as well, as is Wyatt Prokachik. So we're going to fill up our pit lane a little bit here. A lot of action down there. Juncos drivers are out. 11 minutes remaining in the session. Christus Rasmussen comes to the pit with the fastest lap time of 1:18.232. Just over a 10th of a second quicker than Jack William Miller and James Rowe. McElroy 4th, Petrov in 5th, and here comes Hunter Yaney in the VRD machine, the Indy Pro 2000 driver. So again, right in the middle of the session, qualifying for the Indy Pro 2000 Championship, point leader Christian Rasmussen coming off what was a pretty strong little run. You look at the races he's had, a 13th, a 2nd, and a 2nd to start the season. Then he wins at the 2nd round at St. Petersburg, wins the 1st round at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, 9th in race 2, and then goes back-to-back with wins in the end of the triple header at Indianapolis, and then the Freedom 90 on the Oval at Lucas Oil Raceway. A 10th after that big wreck at Road America, shakes it right off, it comes back in race number 2, takes advantage of a mid-race yellow, and is able to walk away to the win and gives him an 18-point lead over Braden Eves. Look at Eves, though, his results. His worst result of the season was 6th. 1st, 4th, 6th, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 4th, 4th. Consistency.
Yep.
He'd look at that and say there's not enough yellow on that. There's not enough. Yellow is what we have in the block when we're looking at our championship chart, driver performance chart. That means you won. So he'd like to have a lot more wins on there, but consistency is what is able to win championships. And Eves only 18 points back at Rasmussen right now.
And again, a great comeback story for Eves after that injury last year and sat out most of the season. I remember last year at this race, the IndyCar doubleheader, he was in the commentary booth with us briefly, doing a little color commentary, and he still had the neck brace on.
That's right.
He looked to be in pretty bad shape, and he's come back with a vengeance here, very much in the thick of the points battles.
Yeah, and it was a rough wreck for sure. And for any driver, that's part of the mental side of the game. And we don't talk a lot about that, right? When we're here, you and I are out here spitting out numbers and times and talking about teams and what they've done. We don't talk about the mental side.
Sure.
Just the straight mental side of preparing yourself to go head-to-head with these tremendously talented race car drivers. The mental side of trying to just get every piece of speed out of a car, but then the mental side of coming back from maybe an incident on the racetrack, like Christian Rasmussen at Road America, or like Braden Eves. Think about the offseason. He had to think about that wreck and go over it and see video of it and everything that happened, but then to be able to come back and win the opening race of the season. I literally was almost in tears calling it because you just can't believe that someone could come back and be able to make that happen.
Exactly.
So, fresh tires installed. Quick look down pit lane. Looks like James Rowe is still there. Trying to figure there's one other driver or 2 other drivers in front that have not yet pulled away.
Rasmussen is still in. Jacob Abel's still in.
That's Abel just pulling away right now. Indeed, John. And you said Rasmussen's still in. Looks like they got the stickers on the back of that car. They got to do the back first, then the front. We don't have 7.2-second IndyCar pit stops. So it takes a little longer to get around here to get it done. But we're back at it with 8 minutes to go. Rasmussen, Miller, Rowe, Gold, and McElroy. And I'll tell you, with Rasmussen still being in the pit lane, means he's going to come back out. He's going to be the last guy to get to the optimum temperature on his tires. He wants to put on a show. He's
Yep.
I think he's just showboating right now.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
they're doing.
Exactly right.
Because he'll be the guy that gets to the magic point. Lowest fuel load, lighter car, faster car. Tires exactly where you want. The optimum temperature right at the perfect window of getting the maximum grip. Driver's got to nail it at that point, though, and that's all about when the driver can take the package they have and do the best they possibly can with it. No one making any moves here right now. Still Rasmussen, Miller, Rowe, Eves, and Gold. But actually, Reese Gold, the first driver to come into the top 5 of the 3 Juncos cars.
Rasmussen with Jay Howard driver development throughout all of his career, I believe, so far. Because we saw him in the F4 Championship with Jay Howard as well, and his teammate Wyatt Burkacek. Jay, a frequent starter at the Indianapolis 500 as well, and has got a real great operation for bringing up young drivers.
Yeah, former USF2000 champion, the Cooper Tires F2000 Z-Tech Championship back in the early 2000s, former Indy Pro 2000 champion as well. Very talented driver out of England, of course, has set up camp here in the U.S. Married, got a family, got a great race team.
Yep.
Just one of the tremendous success stories of a driver who has transitioned from being behind the wheel to being essentially behind the office desk, I guess, if you will, or on the team radio, I guess.
6.5 minutes left, and everybody is back out on track, as you would expect.
And you can see Rasmussen weaving up the front straightaway, trying to build some heat into the tires. So that's a skill in and of itself.
Sure.
How to bring the tires up to temperature. People think, a lot of times people will say, you bring the tires up to temp, scrubbing the tires. A lot of the tire temperature comes from the brakes, actually. As you go hard braking, the heat that dissipates off the brake disc and the rotors comes into the wheel and then transitions into the tire. So a lot of times it's really getting aggressively on the brake to build that heat up early.
Especially on the front tires. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, 100%. Rasmussen's time, a 1:18.232. That's the provisional poll right now, but we expect it to drop here momentarily. 6 minutes remaining in Indy Pro 2000. They'll be back at it racing again tomorrow. When does Indy Pro 2000? They're on the racetrack for their second qualifying session tomorrow at 8:20, but they finally go racing in anger a little later on in the day. 10:50 in the morning, the first of 2 races on the weekend for Indy Pro 2000. They'll have their second race 9 o'clock in the morning on Sunday.
Rasmussen's 1:18.2 is about a half a second off the quick time we saw from this morning's practice session with Artem Petrov, a 1:17.8. Rasmussen this morning was about the same pace, a 1:18.05, so he's just a couple tenths slower. Braden Eves goes up to second quick, closes to within 0.07 of a second of Rasmussen's provisional pole.
I was going to say, about time. I was starting to get anxious.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Put a lap time down. We're ready to go here.
5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 to go, and indeed, as John had said, Braden Eves out of New Albany, Ohio, his home track here at Mid-Ohio. The number 91 for Exclusive Autosport up into second now at 1:18.304. And now it's McElray, Hunter McElray, up to P1 in the number 18 machine. A 1:18.111. Just over a tenth of a second faster. McElray, Rasmussen, Eves. There's a few USF2000 wins among those drivers. Of course, McElray finishing second to Eves 2 years ago in USF2000. So, again, showing the speed and the ability of the drivers coming out of USF. McElray, 1:18.1. I'll tell you this, though. Rasmussen's going to be strong at the very end of this. He came out late. He's going to be later in the run. His window of that opportunity to go quick is going to be a little bit later. I bet you, I would not be surprised to see him go P1 final lap.
Yep.
Right as we go checker flag.
Yep.
I'm going to call it right now. McElray, Rasmussen, Gold, Kiffin, Simpson now up to 4th position. Braden Eves in 5th. Jack William Miller 6th. It's not counting out Artem Petrov yet. Fastest driver in practice.
Eves goes to the top, a 1:18.040. And McElray only 0.07 of a second slower. Rasmussen about 0.2 behind McElray.
1 point up for grabs, a bonus point here as well. So you got to get this here. It can come down to that at the end of the season. Every point is crucial. Eves and McElray 1-2. Rasmussen, give him a couple more laps. 3 minutes and 30 seconds still to come.
Here comes Petrov up to 3rd now.
There it is. I told you. Artem Petrov now to P3, a 1:18.122. Who is going to come away with the pole for race number 1? Again, all the laps, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd laps, crucial because you could use those laps in qualifying for race 2. There's two that was USF2000. Pardon me. Separate qualifying sessions.
Right.
We've done that before at one of the earlier races where we had the 2nd and 3rd qualifying runs, especially when we have triple headers. Double header, no. I'll correct myself. Separate qualifying sessions. I said that earlier. 8:50 tomorrow morning for Indy Pro 2000 qualifying.
just under 3 minutes remaining. Enough time for about 2 laps.
Watch for Rasmussen here. He's the sleeper. Last lap time by a 1:18.3. He was a 10th off his best lap last time by, just kind of bringing those tires up to temp. Eves, Macaray, Petrov, Rasmussen, Gold, top 5. They're also the top 5 in the points. Not surprising.
Yep.
Top 5 on the racetrack right now. There's Hunter Yaney working his way there in the Velocity Racing Development Machine. Hunter Yaney in the number 11 out of Virginia Beach, Virginia. And the 30 seconds out DFND USA machine. Just over 2 minutes remaining, as John had pointed out. Time clicking away here. Braden Eves on top in the number 91. Macaray second. Petrov third. Rasmussen fourth. Gold fifth. And Manuel Suleiman says hello. He'll come by. Winner from Road America and a winner here last year when running for D-Force Racing. He's with Juncos this year. The number 22 goes to P2. The young Mexican driver up into second. Macaray third. Petrov fourth. Jacob Abel. Where's Abel been? He's up to P5.
Top 4 separated by less than a tenth of a second.
Here's a Christian Rasmussen to P1. Not in the final lap, but he still does it. And, John.
Half a second clear.
Half a second faster. A 1:17.508 for Rasmussen. Talk about dropping the hammer on everybody else in the field. They'll go back scratching their head if they can't find some more here. A half a second faster for Rasmussen. The Danish driver who won the USF2000 championship last year just smoked down a blistering lap. 1:17.508.
Artem Petrov goes second quick, also into the 17s, as is Hunter McElroy. So we've got 3 drivers into the 17s, but that lap from Rasmussen, fast lap of the day so far, 17.5084. 4/10 clear of Petrov, and then about 6/100 of a second clear of Hunter McElroy.
The question is there more?
Yeah.
Is there more in the tank for Rasmussen? Has he shown it all, or is there a little bit more there? We've still got about 30 seconds remaining. Manuel Suleiman working his way through the. He'll get one more lap. Manuel will. All the drivers coming onto the front straightaway. That's Manuel Suleiman out of the final corner.
There's Jacob Abel. He'll get another one.
Indeed.
He moves up to 4th quick now. His last lap was his best.
Man, what a run of momentum and upswing for Jacob Abel. That team really starting to come together behind the young Kentucky driver. Abel in the number 51 out of Louisville in the Abel Construction Bell Helmets machine. So down into single digits. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Checker displayed as James Rowe into pit lane. The 55 of Reese Gold on the front straightaway. Rasmussen is done at a 1:17.508. Braden Eves still out there. So Abel rolling out of the keyhole in the 51. Coming off a win in the FRA program here just a week ago. A lot of momentum for him. Can he find some more speed? As John had said, up into P4. McElroy across the line, no quicker. Rasmussen will stand on a 1:17.508. That is provisional pole. 1:17.508. Petrov not able to do it that last time by. He slowed on the track. Put down to 1:29, so kind of shut it down there on that last lap. But flyers still potentially coming for Jacob Abel and Braden Eves. Can either of these drivers make it happen? Coming through, Simpson does not go faster. He's 8th. Suleiman in 6th. We're looking for Abel and Eves. Abel does not get any quicker either. Last driver to do it would be Braden Eves in the number 91. There's him down through turn number 6 right now. Braden Eves currently in the 5th spot, back by half a second. He needs some speed here as he comes across the line pretty soon. Does Eves go any quicker? Gold does not. He's 7th. Just waiting on Braden Eves, and no, he does not either. Christian Rasmussen, the point leader, make it 19 points up as he puts a bonus up onto the box there. Christian Rasmussen, 4/10 faster than Artem Petrov, a 1:17.508. Petrov, a 1:17.927, and Hunter McElroy, 1:17.993. Just 3 drivers able to get below the 1:18 barrier. Jacob Abel just on the other side with a 1:18.01, but another good one for Jacob Abel. You just look at the work he's putting in here. Last bunch of races, I think this is his 7th straight race qualifying in the top 10 and 3rd straight race qualifying in the top 5. That's momentum. They're building. That team is starting to come together here. There's no doubt about that. Jacob Abel, P4. Braden Eves will not be pleased with 5th position when he's got work to do. He'll have to really get aggressive. Elbows up as his primary championship contender in front of him. And there you have it, folks. The unofficial results qualifying for race number 1 for the Indy Pro 2000 Championship. Already mentioned Rasmussen, Petrov, McElray, Abel, and Eves. Manuel Suleiman, who won at Road America and won here last year. So don't keep your eyes off of him because Suleiman's definitely got the ability to work his way forward from 6th. Reese Gold 7th, Kiffin Simpson in 8th, Jack William Miller 9th, and Wyatt Prokachik in 10th. And one thing to point out here, John, interesting, Suleiman, Simpson, and Gold, 6th, 7th, and 8th, the Juncos drivers, they're all the ones that came in early, did maybe a couple of laps to scuff in some tires, then went back out on one set. So they've already got a set of race tires done. It'll be interesting to me to see what they're probably going to do qualifying for race number 2. I think this is I really want to see how this ends up playing out when we're done with the races this afternoon, tomorrow and on Sunday, because that's a different approach, I think.
I think absolutely. So we'll just see how it plays out.
Mark it down.
Indeed.
We're going to want to come back to that.
Or book it, as I've heard you say.
We could definitely do that. Well, that's it, folks, for Indy Pro 2000. Those drivers done for the day. In fact, we only have a couple things for you left to go here on the road to Indy. We're back at it with Indy Lights at 3:35 this afternoon. They'll qualify for race number 1. We saw a pretty good practice session early on. Andretti Autosport seems pretty fast right now in Indy Lights, but then we'll cap off the day. 4:05, a 4:20 green flag, 4:05, I believe, command to start engines as USF2000 will have their first race of the triple header.
Thank you, Rob Howden.